Paul speaks about this, our role of cooperating with this work God is doing in us in Ephesians when he says, you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. When Jesus takes over, it impacts every area of your life. As we approach it his way, how you deal with your family, how you love your wife and your kids or your husband, how you engage your workplace, how you interact with your neighbors, especially the ones that drive you nuts, your social life, your emotional life, your sexuality, your finances. He wants to bring wholeness to all of it as we approach it the way he designed us to. The danger for us is sometimes we can treat Jesus as an add-on, like an accessory to our lives, rather than the foundation of our lives. Like, Jesus, man, I really love this whole being saved thing, but I also kind of want to stay the way I am. I'm not really interested in you changing me or having me follow you in this certain area of my life. The problem is Jesus, he cares about you too much for that. That's not the kind of deal he's offering. He's saying, come to me broken. You don't have to clean yourself up to come to me. You aren't able to. But if you really come to me, man, really commit to me, I am going to change you. Sometimes it's overnight, sometimes it's over time, but there's going to be a real transformation, and it's for your good. And we see this transformation in Paul the Apostle, who we've referenced today, who was once a persecutor of the church. He took part in the jailing and even murder of followers of Jesus, who had a radical encounter with Jesus and then became the greatest missionary in the history of the church, wrote nearly half the New Testament. We see it in the life of the English sea captain John Newton, who was heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade until the day he had a near-death experience. He cried out to God for mercy, and he surrendered himself to Jesus. And over time, he gave up his old life. He not only abandoned the slave trade, but he became a staunch abolitionist against slavery. And you may know him best as the author of the hymn, Amazing Grace. We see it in the life of C.S. Lewis, who was once an atheist despite growing up in a Christian home, but through his studies and conversations with believing friends, he surrendered humbly to Jesus and became one of the most influential Christian thinkers of the 20th century.